Hey boys and girls, Doug Childs here. It's Warriors Rich
and Wildmen. What's happening, Doug?
Hey buddy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Just living the dream, man. How are you doing?
Dream. Absolutely. Kicking butt and taking names. And I've got Lord Fauci shirts over at clashradio.com. It says, "Not today, Fauci," and it has a picture of that little evil troll's head. So if people want to light up their pastor who closed down their church during the COVID-19 plague, I would wear that to church. That's perfect church attire. Do you find anything that is not perfect about that church, especially, again, in the days of COVID-19?
I love it.
So if somebody wore the "Not Today, Fauci" shirt to Destiny Christian Fellowship, what would you do, man? Would you penalize them or move them up on stage?
Well, I think a lot of people would be taking photos with them. Seriously. I think everybody would be lining up to take pictures with a person with a shirt like that because it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a sad day, but that's for another show. We need to get Hotze back on, have him yap about that, because I'm telling you what, buddy, you and I were, from day one on this, like stink on a monkey. I hate to say we told you so, but we did, and it's been proven out over 16 brutal months. But like I said, we need to get Dr. Hotze back on, because I don't think there's anybody that's tip of the spear like he is. And he's doing it from a punitive standpoint. He's got cases against our governor, Greg Abbott, and our lieutenant governor, Dan Patrick, for what they did with their draconian edict, shutting down non-essential businesses, muzzling churches, and he's suing their ass. So Hotze is a full-on baller, and maybe we can get him to come on the Warriors and Wildmen episode here pretty quick, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope so. And you know what, on a personal level, I really, really like that guy. He's a good man. He's an intelligent person, knows what he's doing, but he's also just a really, really good guy. You know, he asked me for my address. He wanted to send me a book. He didn't just send me a book. He sent me some of his supplements and stuff. And let's just say that the gift that he sent with that book and the supplements was significant. He came on our podcast and then sends me a book and supplements. Who does that? It's just a really good guy. And a note. He wrote me a note in there and stuff. It was great. He's a great guy.
Yeah, who does that? It's old school gentleman type qualities.
100%.
He sent me a birthday card last week, and my birthday's in November. So yeah, Steve's funny. Rowdy, man. I've known him for many moons, and he's a family friend for many, many, many moons before I met them. And I tell you what, man, the series that we started, obviously you know it, that we're talking about emotional and mental tenacity. Hotze has that in spades, and we got to flesh out this series. So where are we at now, big dog?
All right, well, just a quick recap. We're talking about emotional stamina or emotional tenacity, the ability to continue. A lot of people think they're emotionally strong because they've gone through hard things. But the question isn't, did you go through hard things? It's how did you come out of them? And how are you able to come back after the challenges and the crises? And sometimes these are things that happen to you. Sometimes they're things that you do. Either way, we have to be able to come back from these failures or these crises that happen in our lives. It happens to everybody, right? Some people fold up, some people fight back. And just to differentiate real quick, people will say that an emotionally strong person is when something happens, they're stoic, they just keep a straight face, no big deal. But the psychologist that I was reading here, his name's Guy Winch. He's a licensed psychologist and author of a few books, but he said that it doesn't have anything to do with your initial response. It has something to do with your final response. And so you might be stoic, and then the next day you're so depressed that you quit. But the other person might yell or cry, and the next day they get up and try again. And he said, yelling or crying is a sign that you care. The most important factor is what do you do the next day? And regardless of the initial reaction, it's what do you do with what happened? And I think that's a great insight, because I think a lot of people, if you ask them if they're emotionally strong, they'll say, yeah, I've been through a lot of hard things. And the question isn't, have you been, a lot of those hard things you didn't choose. So it's not like you chose to go through hard things, right? It's how did you come out of those? Did you quit? Did you get addicted to drugs? Did you become an alcoholic? Did you run away from your life? Did you end up in prison because you tried to take a shortcut and you didn't want to do that anymore? I mean, that doesn't make you an emotionally strong person. It actually would be evidence of the opposite, right? And so as Christians, we want to be emotionally strong. I mean, we want to be able to make the comeback, right? So
Hello.
that's the initial, yeah, that's a lot all at once. And if they didn't, go back and listen to the last two podcasts, because Doug shares some great insights, motivation, and that we share from several different articles that I think will encourage you. But go back and listen to the first two and get the groundwork, and it'll help you to get up to speed on this one.
All right, man, set the hook, set the stage.
Okay.
And,
so we were talking about how to develop your emotional strength, because like I said, if you go back and listen to the other podcasts, you'll probably realize that you either don't have emotional strength or tenacity, or you're not where you thought you were. And even if you're good at it, we need to get better, right? So here's 5 things in an article by Douglas Satterfield, and it's Morgan Griffin on 5 tips for building mental stamina. And on part 2, we talked about think positively and use visualization. Part 3, here we go, Doug. Plan for setbacks. Plan for setbacks. If you want to develop the ability to continue, you have to plan for setbacks. So what do you think about that, Dougie Fresh?
Yeah, again, going back to Jesus' first podcast, episode number 1, the Sermon on the Mount, he said, storms are coming. So you got to figure, I had this one mentor of mine, Richard, who told me many, many moons ago when I was a wee lad in Christ, he said, you're either coming out of a storm or you're about to go into one. And,
yes.
Again, people are like, that's just so mean of sweet Jesus. Like, no, man, it's if you're forewarned, you're forearmed. And so
I like
he told
that.
people,
Say that again. That's good.
Yeah, if you're forewarned, you're forearmed. And so that's why, Paul's injunction, I think it's in the book of Romans, like, look, don't get too giddy and don't get too mopey. So, when you're on the mountaintop with with Julie Andrews and the hills are alive with the sound of music, enjoy it. Thank God for it. But there's a valley coming. I see a storm a brewing. So the sober-mindedness, the preparedness, like, yeah, this is great. Yeah, this is an incredible country that we have. Yeah, the border's flooded. Yeah, there could be a zombie apocalypse. So you enjoy the nation, you enjoy your freedoms, and then you frickin' store food and water, and get a lot of ammunition.
Yeah, and you prepare.
And rifles. Yeah, because it's, it could be coming. And God almighty, you look weird if you didn't heed all the warnings. And like Christ said, if you build your life on my word instead of just treat them like little Bible studies and little nuggets and giblets of positivity, but if you actually do what I tell you to do, when this frickin' tsunami hits, when the tornado hits, when the floods break bank and start swallowing up houses, you're going to be fine. So, yeah, it's just, again, I think it's cool that our loving Creator didn't tell us, you're going to escape pain. He's like, no, pain's a coming. It's part of the human experience for the human collective. Everybody's going to go through it. Might not be the same for everybody and their dog, but there will be a pinch coming to the flesh, especially, it could be a self-derivative thing that you did to yourself because of stupidity and rebellion. It could be something that the powers of darkness toss at you. It could be something that God allows you to go through to do some character building. So really it's out there. It's out there. It's coming.
Yeah, that's really, really good. And one thing I like is the Bible also does this, is comparing sports to life, because there's such an easy correlation, right? There's so much to it. This guy that's writing this article is a sports psychologist, and he said this: if you're a marathon runner, there are times when you'll hit the wall. If you're a golfer, you make a bad shot sometimes. These things happen. What really matters is what you do afterwards. Like, you can plan in your mind for a perfect golf game and make one bad shot and spiral out of control and the tournament's over. But you have to be able to get back. And you might think, well, I don't play golf. I don't care about golf. It's not about golf. In your life, you can have your life planned out. You can be going along, and there's a setback, and you can't handle that setback. Instead of refocusing, this is another great quote by a guy named Korb. He said, one of the things that separates elite athletes is their ability to hold up after a setback. They don't spiral out of control. And a lot of people, they're strong, things are good, but when there's a setback, they get depressed, they get bummed out, they don't want to commit anymore to whatever it is, and they spiral out of control. I was talking to, I went to UFC the other night. It was here in Phoenix. It was awesome. I went David Curry. That was an amazing time. But Nate Diaz fought, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But Nick Diaz, his older brother, also an MMA fighter, I met him in Vegas. Hey, Doug, remember when we were going to meet in Vegas for a meeting? And I texted you and I asked you, where are you at? And you said, I'm at my house. He said, and you said, where are you? I said, I'm at the MGM. And you said, that meeting's next week.
Right.
That was great. So I got a cigar and started walking through the casino and was like, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm walking through the casino and I see Nick Diaz walking. And I said, hey, Nick. And he turns around and goes, hey, man, what's up? And I said, yeah, big fan, man. You're awesome. What's going on? So we walked together and just kept talking. And then we finally stopped and talked for about 30 minutes. And it was, when you see him, because he has social anxieties and stuff a lot, he doesn't do well on interviews. But when I was talking to him just one-on-one, he's so smart, bro. He does these triathlons, right? And that's what ties in with this is that he said, well, when you're doing cardio, you want to hit this percentage of your maximum heart rate. And he said, when you're running a marathon, or he does triathlons, you never want your heart to redline, which is to go over that number, right? He said, if it does, you're not going to make it. You have to keep it in this range to do the whole race. And he said, you'll see, he said, have you ever seen video of marathon runners? The guy who wins it and he breaks a world record? And I said, yeah. And he said, and there'll be video of him walking. He said, it's not because he can't run the whole way. It's because he didn't pace himself correctly and he started to redline. And the only way to bring your heart back down is to walk until your heart resets. Then you gradually build up to that rate, and that sets you up for a better time, a better performance. Doug, that blew my mind, not just for, obviously, I'm not going to run a marathon, but it blew my mind about life. You know, sometimes people are just running on red line and they think it's great, but the reality is, and I'm not talking about doing less, I'm talking about doing more and more effectively. That once you hit that, they don't quit. They just reset, and they ease right back into the race. And you can still win like that. Think about that. If you thought, Doug, I'm going to run a marathon. If I walk, there's no way I'm winning. Wouldn't you think that? I would think that.
Yeah, you got to keep those legs moving, man. You can't be walking and winning a race when you got guys from Kenya that outrun, lions and leopards and stuff like that.
And then they walk and win because they're taking the time to reset, right? They know that there's going to be setbacks, and they're already prepared in my mind. If I do that, I have to slow down, reset my heart rate, and then speed back up, right? I think that's incredible. I was at the fights, and Nate Diaz fought his younger brother, one of the most famous, loved MMA fighters, because he's just a gangster from the ghetto, right? But he's extremely skilled. He was fighting this guy, Doug, and that guy beat him up for 24 minutes. It's a 25-minute fight, 5-minute rounds. That guy beat him up for 24 minutes. And Nate Diaz just hung in there, he's bleeding everywhere. And all of a sudden, he lands this shot, and the guy's knees buckle, and he goes back against the cage, and then you see this championship premier boxing just lighting that guy up. Bro, every person in that place was standing at their feet, sold-out crowd, screaming their heads off. And the bell sounded, and the other guy ended up winning the fight. And they asked Nate Diaz, they said, this is what makes people love you. You're never out. You know, what happened? He said, well, in training, I got cut about a month ago. And so I couldn't train. And I got bummed out. There's not much I could do because I can't aggravate that cut. I won't be able to fight. And so they pushed the fight out a month. And he said, and I just couldn't get back into my training. He said, so in the fight, all I had to do, they said, because you were doing these antics and stuff. He said, no, all I had to do is get to the next moment. They said, was that part of your plan? He said, no, I just need to make it to the next moment and get my opportunity. And he said, if that would have been a fight in the streets, I would have won because that guy was sleepwalking. That's his exact words. He said, if that would have been a real fight, I would have won because I would have finished him. And he said, I'm still the better fighter. And everybody's cheering their heads off. I think it's amazing that a guy loses for 24 minutes, literally loses on all the judges' scorecards, and comes out of there saying, I'm better than that guy. Like, what kind of tenacity, what kind of emotional strength is it to knowingly go 24 minutes getting beat up the whole time, waiting for your chance to win? It's incredible, man.
I was watching The Dark Knight, the Heath Ledger's last film, when he actually finished the film before he did the drug overdose. And, he famously plays the Joker, best Joker ever. I don't think Joaquin Phoenix has anything on what Heath Ledger did. Anyway, I'm sitting there watching the Joker, and he's getting pummeled by Batman. He's just getting the shiitake mushrooms just knocked out of him. And he's laughing through the whole thing. He's like, that was a great shot, Cape Crusader. And he's so positive as he's having all these horrible things happen to him, towards the end of the show and stuff. And I looked over to Mary Margaret's like, you know what? I want to have an attitude like the Joker, that when I'm getting pummeled, when I'm getting beat up, where this could be my swan song, my end game, this could be where I across the Rubicon finally. I want to be laughing in the face of disaster, pain, and punishment. I don't know if you saw, I think I sent it over to you and Zeke. I don't know that chick's name, but America's Got Talent. Skinny girl, because she's going through chemo, and a beautiful, little darling. And, just very little hair on her head. I think her nickname's the Nightingale. Anyway, she's on Instagram, following over there. And so she comes, she's just frail, man. And you could tell that, this chick has gone through a huge medical storm. And she gets up on the stage, and they're like, Howie's like, so what do you do? And she's like, well, I'm going to sing an original song. He's like, okay, well, that doesn't really work too well. Most times people try to pull that off. He goes, what's your song called? And she goes, it's called It's Okay. He goes, okay. How's the song? She goes, it's kind of okay. People start laughing. Heidi's laughing. Sofia Vergara's laughing. Simon's over there scowling and stuff. So anyway, she opens up her mouth. And first of all, the song is just full-on epic lyrics, notes, melody. Everything's perfect. She sings like a frickin' nightingale. And at the end of her performance, the whole place is just lit, stands up to their feet. And Simon has the last where he goes, obviously you're going through some kind of treatment. What is it? It's cancer. And she said the way that I got through it is through the music and writing the song and stuff. Dude, he was in tears. I've never seen Simon. You could put the last baby wombat into a wood chipper and spray it out over an audience of lepers, and Simon would just eat a bologna sandwich like it's Thursday. It shook him up, man. And I tell you what, I was sitting there looking at that girl. Most people would take their cancer treatment and get on the couch of pity and milk that crap for all of its worth. And here she is like, nope, I'm going to write a song. I'm going to perfect the song. I'm not only going to write a song, perfect the song, sing the song to me and Jesus and my friends. I'm going to freaking go on America's Got Talent, biggest stage, biggest audience of any kind of show. And I'm going to parade my wares and show people that when you get a seriously bad hand handed to you, you don't have to curl up in the fetal position and wet your diaper and feel sorry for yourself. That kind of stuff, those kind of obstacles, we see it in the movie, we see it in sports like you're talking about. Those are the kind of people that I like to study. Those are the kind of people that, that just fascinate me. Because it's not the one that, I'm so smart and I'm blue blood and I'm well educated. And for me, When my bank account says that I have less than $150,000 in savings right now, it makes me have a tummy ache. I don't care about those kind of folks. I want to look at the people that are really, really going through the meat grinder. And you know what? They're perfecting the middle finger to Satan, to trouble, to pain, to everything that got going on. And just like your buddy who supposedly lost is like, no, I won. And King David had that kind of attitude. It's like, I won.
Yeah.
It's like, well, David, you committed adultery. Your kid died. Your family's all gone to hell. And he says, you know what? I'm going to go lay down and sleep because the Lord will arise and save me and smash all my enemies on the cheek. So I think
that's right.
having
But that's a key, Doug. That's a key to building emotional tenacity, is that regardless of what happens, I'm going to keep serving God, and he's going to be triumphant in the end. So I'm going to be triumphant in the end, regardless of what happens in the situation, because of not just who I am, but whose I am. I'm going to make it, and I'm going to win.
I think it's in Psalm 44, somewhere in the 40s, in the Message translation. David, who did all of his stuff, I'm talking about the bad stuff, not just the good stuff, but the bad stuff, the adultery, having her husband offed, being, his sin causing the death of two people, his baby and Uriah. And he says in, one of these Psalms is the way that Peterson transliterates it, that God takes me in stride. David had a stranglehold on God's grace that I don't think there's too many New Testament believers right here, right now, know a fraction about the love and the mercy and the forgiveness and the grace of God that David did 2,000 years before Christ even died for anybody, and the Holy Spirit was shed abroad on the planet. So the depths of God's grace, when you blow it, when you're in trial, man, you need to tap into that. That's, to me, Psalm 3 is so fascinating because it's right after he boinked with Bathsheba, right after Uriah was murdered, and Absalom's trying to kill his own father. Part of, again, the recompense that David incurred because of his sin. So he's in a pickle, as they would say in the movie Invasion with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. And David says, arise, O God, scatter my enemies. How does this cat have such a stranglehold on grace and God when he deservedly he warranted all the bad crap that's happening to him, and it's like he's removed from it. It's like, hey, Lord, you still love me? You're still my Savior. I'm asking you right now to arise and flatten these enemies. And those are enemies, by the way, that he spawned.
Yeah, he created that.
Right.
But that's the amazing
and
thing.
yet he's still there before God's like, hey, I'm your special boy. So how are you going to light up that horde that's coming at me 10,000 strong?
Yeah, and emotional strength is to get over setbacks. What setbacks? Things that have happened, right? And things that I have done. It's not one or the other. It's, man, I failed. We'll get up and let's go. Like I was saying in baseball. You see guys in baseball and they make an error, and the whole team's like, come on, man, you're all right, forget it. And they always say this, shake it off. You want to know why?
Right.
Because we don't need to be in the World Series. You bobbled a ball, guys on first, and we need you all freaked out about that last play. We need you to remove yourself from that, because there's a good chance they're going to hit another ball to you, and we need you 100%. It's not that it didn't matter. Nobody's saying it didn't matter. Everybody's saying we're still in the game. Come on, Warriors and Wildmen, you got to get that right there. Regardless of what's happening, even if you did it and you caused it, we are still in the game. You got to turn the page, man. Emotional strength is the ability to get up and to keep on going. And if it's like you said about this young lady that had cancer, that's something that happened to her, right?
Right.
She's still in the game. You have to plan for setbacks. They're a part of life. The next thing to increase your emotional tenacity, the number 4 is manage stress. You have to be able to manage stress. And this psychologist Geyer says this, not all stress is bad. The fight or flight response can push you harder during a competition. But he points out that positive stress, excitement, and negative stress, anxiety, isn't that a great thought? Positive stress is excitement. Negative stress is anxiety. They really have the same physical effects. Your heart rate and breathing go up, your pupils dilate. The difference is how you experience these effects. Isn't that cool? If excitement before a competition gets you amped up, that's good. If it's tipping you into panic, that's bad. Remember that when you feel stress building, you have to have some control over how to interpret it. Isn't that good? That's great thoughts right there. How are you managing stress?
Yeah, Samuel Johnson said famously that there's nothing that really focuses the mind like the thought of being killed.
Yeah. Right.
So it's not, again, everybody's like, I don't want stress. I don't want challenges. I don't want conflict. Well, then you're going to die in your lazy boy.
Yeah.
You're not
going to do anything.
Like we talked about the other day about, people who retire. When they're working, they've got something, they're conquering, they're providing, they're protecting, they're hunters and heroes. And the next thing you know, everything just stops, and you're reduced to cooking hamburgers and riding around in
a golf cart.
to me, it was like, I can't do it, man. I need a goal to conquer. I need a dragon to slay. I need some kind of stimuli. Instead of like, I just completely just stop. It's like, no, you're an ass kicker. Mm-hmm. You're a monster. So, yeah, I think that whole stress stuff, to me, when you're under stress, again, like Johnson said, it focuses your mind. So
right.
Like some of the greatest products, some of the companies that we've built have been under duress, and like I told you about my buddy, who's got a $50 million company that sprung out of COVID. How many people, when they got this bad news, like, you've got an unessential job, they're like, oh, I'm going to take $300. Oh, I'm going to wait for a stimulus check of $1,200. He's like, man, screw that. I'm going to start a company. I'm going to figure out how I can thread this needle. And
sure.
He did it.
That's
he
right.
did it within a year, man. Within a year.
That's powerful. But that's great, though. It's recognizing the stress that you're under. Okay, if it's anxiety, that's fear. Fear is not bad, it's sin. You need to take that to God. If it's excitement, let's channel it. Don't let it tip into panic. Now you're out of control. We have to manage our stress. Like you're saying, stress isn't a bad thing. People are like, avoid all stress. You don't want to avoid all stress. Like you said, that doesn't even make any sense. If you're avoiding all stress, you're avoiding all the situations that you could conquer, that you could grow, that you could learn. So if you want to become emotionally strong, you have to put yourself into situations that are going to cause stress. And then life will obviously put you in some. But choose to put yourself in there and then manage the stress, understand it, interpret it, and then use it for your benefit. But don't let it get you out of control.
Yeah, I tell you what, I wrote a book in 2009 called If You're Going Through Hell, Keep Going. It's like, I'm going to help people who are going through trouble. And boy, howdy, I didn't figure I'd need that book.
Yeah, right.
A month after it was published, because that's when CNN and everybody came after our whole family. In the next 2 to 3 years were 7 multi-million-dollar lawsuits, threats against our family's life, pure chaos. But in the book, If You're Going Through Hell, Keep Going, there's a chapter that I titled from Frankie and the Hollywood's famous song, Relax. And one thing that I do when I'm getting ramped up and, you might have fear coursing through your veins, you might have undue stress, your hair's falling out. Dude, my hair fell out during the whole acorn thing. I remember in the shower that, washing my hair and looking at my hands, I'm like, holy crap, that ain't right. Is it the Johnson baby shampoo? No, dumbass, you're stressed out,
right.
You're freaking out. Thankfully, without hair plugs, I've got a full coif, thank you, Lord, and balance of nature, by the way, but mostly God. But anyway, in the book, the chapter I did, If You're Going Through Hell, Keep Going, relax. Like, listen, guys, get off whatever stress bubble is driving you nuts. You've got to take a break. So regular exercise, this sounds goofy. Watch a comedy. Maybe not read Jeremiah or Lamentations for now.
Right.
And drink not just one glass of wine, drink 2. And I think, enjoy your wife, have sex, have fun, break that crap up, man. Because if you're in this like, oh my God, it's all doom and gloom, it will become all doom and gloom. Laugh your butt off, hang out with your friends, divert your attention. Like Churchill and George W. Bush, they diverted their attention from their stressful situations. Churchill all the more, obviously, because his was a wee bit more stressful than George W.'s. But you had the 9/11 attacks. They got into art, and it's not therapy that they're just doing it because they're Churchill in particular, a very intense character, but it utilized a different side of his mind that wasn't just hemispherically focused on war and killing Nazis. It took it over here to a completely different place where it utilized that brain power to create something beautiful.
Yes.
And so in regards to the relax aspect and, managing stress, man, you got to get out of that funk.
Yes.
That's why I never golf, because that's not relaxing to me. If I'm sitting here with a little ball and there's a hole 400 yards down there, I'm already stressing out big time. So movies, 2 glasses of wine, sweet hot relations with your spouse,
and psychologists even say ice cream.
Ice cream.
It's a proven fact that ice cream makes depressed people happier. You don't want to do it every night, but man, that's awesome.
Or get on a wave runner. Have you ever seen a sad person on a wave runner? No, they're just smiling and laughing and stuff. You gotta deviate, like Geddy Lee said, from the norm, especially when you're stressing out. Just like, what? We're not going to talk about this anymore. We're going to put on Dumb and Dumber,
right?
And we're going to laugh our ass off for the next hour and a half.
It's funny you say that because we'll go riding with some of the people at the church motorcycle on Harleys, and these are pastors that we do the ministry with, and we make a rule: no talking about work or the ministry. Jesus is always an available topic. Work and the ministry are off limits, and I'm probably the worst offender. So no matter what, somebody will say, hey, we're not talking about that right now, because you have to unplug from that stress for a little bit so you can rest up and get better, right? It kind of leads into number 5. Number 5 is sleep more, and it has to do with taking care of your body. We know that emotional stamina is also affected by your physical stamina. The better physical shape that you're in, the easier it is to be emotionally strong. And sleeping is important. If you would have told me this 10 or 12 years ago, I would have disagreed with this point, and I would have argued till I was blue in the face. And I would have been wrong, because I was traveling all over the world just on these long flights to Asia, back and forth all the time. And one time I ended up on my couch with a low-grade fever for 5 days. I could barely get up and walk to the restroom. And I wasn't sick. My body was completely exhausted. And the Lord kept telling me that whole time, you need a rest. You need a rest. You need a rest. Apparently, I wasn't hearing it, so I had to wear out to that point. So I started making an effort to sleep minimum of 6 hours. I usually get up after 6.5 hours. I don't sleep that long. But 8 is fine. And once in a while, I'll literally sleep like 8.5 hours, which blows my mind because I used to live on 4. But I'll tell you what, I'm clearer. I'm not so edgy. It's a great thing for your health, is to actually get enough sleep for your mind to recuperate, to rest, and to be ready to go the next day. Not just your body. Here's an interesting thing, Doug. I was reading something one time that doctors don't know why we sleep. They said your body does not need sleep. Your body needs moments of rest. It does not need sleep. Sleep does not benefit your body. They said sleep is for your mind. Is that that's incredible, right? That's crazy. Sleep is for your mind to rest. Your body just needs moments of rest throughout the day, but your brain needs to sleep. And you think about managing stress and you add the sleep factor, that's a big deal.
I tell you what, it affects your looks too, man. I was watching television the other day, and Halle Berry, who's just knocked down gorgeous. Here she is, I think she's like 55. And I mean, she looks, like 32, 35.
Yeah.
Didn't have any makeup on. She wasn't dolled up. And they're like, Halle, how did you do it? She hadn't had plastic surgery, according to her. And it doesn't look like she's been cut on. And she said, well, I eat right, I exercise. And she said, I sleep 10 to 12 hours a day.
Whoa.
It's like, well, there you go, man. It's like you can do that if you have an entourage of 20 people helping you with your flipping kids.
Right,
and
right.
managing your business. But, the point is just get frickin' rest.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people that they don't rest and it's just go, go, go. And you see them, over time develop raccoon eyes, big old dark circles.
Yeah.
They just look frazzled all the time, living on coffee, living on wine, living on, bad food. That shit's gonna catch up to you, man. I've seen some of the, and I'm not going to mention any names. I've seen some really great people die prematurely because they're just going to run.
Yep.
It's like better to burn out than fade away. It's like, listen, life's a marathon, man. So, like Rich was talking about in regards to his buddy who's a marathon runner, sometimes, man, you got to walk. You can't just keep at that high 7,000 RPMs. That's why I think it's hilarious that it's like, well, that's, only pussies, sleep that much. It's like, well, would you consider...
I used to say that. I was wrong, by the way, but I used to say that.
It's like, would you consider, I don't know, would you consider Churchill a pussy? Would you consider Ronald Reagan a pussy?
Right.
Would you consider Jesus a pussy? I mean, David, he's like, I need my soul restored. I'm going to go sit by green pastures and still waters, They did that, man.
Well,
Jesus was always bugging out when hordes would come and get him. It's like sucking the life out of Jesus. Like, I got to go. I got to get away. Just doing the whole Lenny Kravitz thing. Poof, off to the mountains. I guarantee he was not only praying, but he was taking a flipping nap.
Yeah, of course.
Just chilling out.
Robert Murray Mcshane was a Scottish minister in 1835, 1800s.
Wore himself out, man.
Yeah, and he died at the age of 29. And he died of exhaustion. Like, he literally died of exhaustion. He was in good health other than he wore himself out. And on his deathbed, this man, people like that, man, they're awesome. On his deathbed, they said, wow, you're such a hero. You gave your life for the faith. And he says, no, I failed. And they said,
I didn't pace myself.
He said, I was given a horse to ride and a message to deliver. I've killed the horse and failed to deliver the message. Come on, bro. Come on. If we don't take that and learn from that, we're just dumb.
Yeah, again, we've got one body, got to take care of it. Have no idea how many days we got on this third rock from the sun. So as much as possible, and I'm not telling people not to enjoy life and
yeah,
because here you and I are smoking cigars and having an adult beverage every now and then, but it's offset with trying to be kingdom focused.
Yep.
It's offset with hopefully managing stress well, and taking a nap every now and then and sleeping for 6.5 to 7 hours.
Yeah, that's good for you.
And you get up and you're ready. You're not delirious. You're not glazed eyed. You got this 1,000-yard band roll-on glaze look to your face. You're fresh. You're sharp, and you're solid, and you're smart, and you're ready to go. The only person I've seen really defy that rule recently is Donald Trump, man. Frickin' Donald Trump.
He's an animal.
When he was in office, 4 hours a night, then just back up. He wasn't like low-energy Jeb that waddles out onto the stage. He's a full-on pipe-hitting nut cutter, and that's impressive.
Yep.
I guarantee he's cashed in on some Z's since the deep-rigged election was stolen from him.
Yeah, I think that's the whole
Good stuff,
deal, man.
bro.
We need to develop our emotional strength, and I think it's a fatalistic mindset to sit around waiting for bad things to happen, and then I'm going to try to develop my emotional tenacity. Like, that's ridiculous. What we need to do is take care of our lives, take care of ourselves, and put ourselves in situations to get promoted, to go to the next level, to carry more responsibility, and to engage with that and develop our emotional strength through the things that we shared and through Scripture and the Word, and engage in those things to become stronger. Because the goal isn't to do less, it's to do more. But a lot of people feel like I can't do more than I can now. Well, the answer is to get stronger. The answer isn't to do less. See, I think people want to reduce stress, and they think, I'm going to do less. Well, some people do less and less and less and less, and they do nothing. They're still stressed. It's not what you're doing. It's the condition of your mind. And so we need to become stronger so that we can handle more. I remember things when I was a young man that spun me out. And now I look at those things and I literally laugh thinking that it even got 1 minute of attention because I'm getting stronger, right? That's the goal, so that we can do more, carry more responsibility, but we do it by smashing the levels that we're at now.
Grow that faith muscle, baby.
Yeah.
Move from faith to faith, grace to grace, strength to strength. That's what, normal Christianity is all about. It's not like I'm static and this is the way I'm going to be all my life. And Paul's like, no, you move from faith to faith, strength to strength.
Yeah.
If you're following, what's his name? Spider-Man? Superman? No, if you're following Jesus, that's how you roll, folks. So what's the Warriors and Wildmen listener got to do?
I'll tell you what they got to do, but I got to end this on a joke because you brought it up right now.
Hit it.
So it's not a joke. It's actually happened last night. My daughter-in-law, Miranda, was leading her life group with teen girls. And Miranda said, this is quote, "We need to build our lives on the rock. Our foundation needs to be the rock." Who is the rock? One of the youth.
Dwayne Johnson.
Dead serious.
I love it, man.
Doug, dead serious, 100% confident that they had the right answer. They weren't joking. They literally were like, I know who the rock is. We got to help this generation, bro. That's why we're having those life groups.
Hey, at least the fair lassie who answered Miranda's question, at least she was bold,
And she was.
I know who it is.
She was at life group. She was at Bible study, right? So
guess who's
awesome.
not going to forget who the Rock is after
right.
last night?
Yeah, that's a great.
Stuff,
so it's
man.
a great story. Yeah. All right, go to warriorsandwildmen.com. Subscribe. It's free. We'll shoot you a couple emails a week. We won't make you crazy with emails. And like us, love us, leave us a comment, shoot us an email. Also, you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Find us on social media while you can, but still go and subscribe. And that way, whatever happens, if they take us off these platforms, which they do, you'll still be able to find us. If you want to help support us, hit the war chest. It's tax deductible. We'll send you the information on that. For those that are doing that, we appreciate you guys helping us make it happen. Warriors and Wildmen.